for as long as anyone can think of.
And, you know, attention has now been placed on some other persons. Those who have left the country, their names are still on the system. We have those who received scholarships from the country and never returned. I'm just trying to, you know, break down some of these malpractices. Those whose family members were in the civil service are now late and they're still receiving their salaries. And we have also those who have been retrenched. But, you know, these monies are still being paid to, you know, private accounts. What does this say about the level of accountability that we have in the Nigerian civil service today?
You can just simply describe it as an anomaly. That's exactly what it is. And it's something that happens with people who lack conscience, if you understand what I'm talking about. Someone passes on. You never go to report to say, my dad, mom, grandma, grandpa has actually passed on. So take them off the... So it's just this idea of, okay, it's part of the national cake. It's my own, you know, portion, you know, selfishness. I need to continue to take the chunk of it. But when you look at it from the person who is at that receiving end, getting the salaries and all of that, as I said to you folks the other time, free money is actually sweet. No one is going to come to tell you, oh, stop paying me this money, because it's free. And they're not working for it. It now rests on the authorities as it is. And that's talking about the bodies who are in charge of these things. How often do you take a look at the data, the document, the portal? Who goes there to check? What happens to quality control? Who is checking? Who has actually left? Who has been retrenched? Who has been retired? Who has passed on? Who exactly is checking? So it simply means that we just rest on we just sit down and allow the system run on its own. And it has gone on for years. Who is actually going to bail the cat? That's the question we're asking now. How are we going to redirect? You know, it's a total paradigm shift as it is. Things need to change. And I'm glad that the president has come up to say, we need to do something about this. I know him as a man who doesn't pay lip service. As he has come out to say this is what's going to happen, is for his foot soldiers to say, yes, let's put it down, put our foot down to say, this is what is going to happen and something needs to be done about it.
Yeah, so this taxi driver actually blew the whistle on his own self, even though his identity, you know, is protected by the BBC. But then, you know, he continued to receive 150,000 naira monthly from his government job in Nigeria due to an understanding with his boss.
His boss who is his relative.
Okay, so could you help us, you know, demystify or expatiate further on who this kind of boss is? Because you said someone who is checking, who is monitoring,
that's right,
who is auditing some of these things. So exactly what kind of boss would he have been? Because certainly it won't be the first and the last to have done this. So
this is a boss who has simply just explained who he is. Now, this is something that has come to the fore. It's in the open. Everyone's talking about it. Imagine for BBC to carry such a story. So it's everywhere. Do you have an idea other things that would have gone on with this particular person if your own relative can come out to say, it's just because I had an understanding with my boss who's my relative? And that's why I'm so skeptical about people bringing in their relatives, friends, brothers, sisters into the system. I'm not a party to it. And I say to people, yes, if you have people who are qualified to do the job, go and apply like every other person and come in, you know, officially like every other person comes in. And you have to follow the same process. But when you bring in people from all over, just because they're your relatives, this is exactly what happens. Someone leaves the system for 2 years. He was drawing 150,000. That's about maybe $100 and maybe 80 pounds as it is. And he's been drawing that, and he comes out to say it. Well, I just think that the authorities just need to be on the case. I don't blame the driver, who's the UK driver, who's coming up to say this now. It is that boss, who's his relative, that should take the blame. And they need to investigate and find out exactly some of the things that have happened in the course of what we're talking about.
But I believe to an extent, there should be a level of blame on that driver, because there should have been an active step.
If I give you free money, will you come to tell me no?
There should have been an active step to at least, even if it's, you know, to inform them that he is resigning, he will be leaving the country. If you are going on a study leave, there are conditions attached to that. And recently also the head of service also mentioned that due to this latest development, she had to send a circular out for a head count of individuals in departments and agencies. And many of them ran back from the United Kingdom to say, oh, they are around.
We're still at work.
We're still at work. We're still working. This goes a lot to show, you know, the average Nigerian attitude.
No, the system is porous.
To work.
Because you want to eat your cake and have it at the same time. How possible is that? You're somewhere else receiving money. I heard the gentleman was boasting to say, well, I don't care even if I lose what it is that I have here in Nigeria. At least I'm earning better there. Okay, you're earning better. Why don't you leave this so that there will be space for someone else to come in and start to earn that peanut that you didn't want in the first place? Well, you've just talked about it. You know, because of that head count, everybody came back. And I'll tell you, this is something that has happened for a long time. It's not like the public or the private sector, you know, where, of course, I've operated in for a while. You clock in. You get paid for what it is that you work. You have to be there. You have to appear. You've got to clock in. You've got to sign the attendance so people know you come to work. It's not in a place where sometimes you don't even appear at work. But at the end of the month, the government pays. I've always had a problem with that because people just relax. Whether they do the job or not, they get paid. And you look at it. Shall we continue in sin so that grace may abound? I don't think it's something proper. But as I've said, for the government, the federal government to say this is what will happen. It's not just about one man who has actually come in. Because people will say, is he the first to be president for him to have noted this? It's happened for a long time. But this is his term. And he has said, look, we need to do something about it. Because when you look at it, monies are frittered away in so many ways. You just talked about people who have died. No one is going to check to say, when did this person die? We need to stop paying whatever it is that we're paying to this person. People will continue to receive those monies until the system, the database is actually overhauled and we get to do the right thing.
And this speaks to the character and integrity and